Hello everyone, welcome to the From the Void podcast, a show all about Eternal and our experiences with the game. With me, as always, is my good friend and co-host, Bassoon. How are you, sir?
I'm gonna pull back the curtain a little bit. This is me peering through the curtain between the fourth wall and our audience. When you do that countdown before the show starts, is it for me? Is it for you? Or is it for Patrick?
It's for Patrick.
You just started doing it recently, and every time I go like, I wonder who's that for?
It's
wonder why that's here.
No, it's for Patrick, just so he knows what to cut out, because sometimes our pre-show we get into rants about interesting things.
You know what the cool thing is? Now he has to leave in the countdown.
Yes. Yeah, I'm just going to cut out the countdown next week. We're just going to start talking. I'll give Patrick. He'll be like, when did they start the show? You know, like... Yeah,
I love bothering the producer.
Yes, we love you. We love you, Patrick. Anyway, we have a guest this week. Bassoon, you want to introduce our guest?
Oh my god. Just a pillar of the Eternal community. High-level, competitive player. High-level team member. Friend of everybody. Team owner. Friend of literally people who developed this game. He knows everybody. He loves everybody. Everyone loves him. It's Sunyveil. Hi,
hey, what's up, guys?
Wow, wow.
I can think of at least one person that doesn't love me. So that's not actually correct, but
name names. Let's go. Let's get them.
Oh, everyone.
Do we want to roast them? Do we want to roast them, or do we want to convince them why they should love you?
All right. Well, let's just put it this way: whenever anyone mentions my stream or my draft videos or anything about me, either on Reddit or Discord, there is one person who comes out of the woodwork to be like, "This guy." Don't watch him.
I didn't know who you were talking about, but now I haven't narrowed down. Speaking of, I love you. You know, you're one of my favorite people in this community. That one Reddit post you did, and the one, is one of the most memeable things I've ever seen in my life. It's amazing. I will meme that until the day I die. And I say that with all the love I can spare in my heart.
I mean, I love everyone, but sometimes you have to have a forceful hand, you know?
Wow. So, alright, let's move on to our week. Bassoon, how was your week in Eternal?
I've been kind of sick. I've been streaming when I feel like it, and I'm in 4-digit masters trying to figure out what's good and what's bad. And I figured out a lot of stuff that's bad, and haven't really found what's good yet. No, I haven't played FJS before anybody asks.
Wow. All right, Sonny, how was your week in Eternal?
It's been pretty boring, honestly. I've been sitting on double top 100 because I haven't qualified for either half of that yet. Because
what do you do on your stream?
What do I do on my stream? That's a good question. Play casual, I guess. And then we play League. Today we're going to be playing League. I also have 17 more League games to go, so
you gotta knock that
I'll fill up at least 6 hours, you know?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I mean, recently we've been, so for example, for the last stream, a friend of Eternal, The Boxer, took down the ETS this past weekend, and so I took the Scrappy Hour deck for a spin. I've never played that before. We just played casual for several hours. Yep. In other Eternal news related to me, Frenzy is now live. If you want to add the Friends of Eternal logo to your channel, you can on Bear Twitch TV. I'll link it in chat. And oh, nope, I will not link it in chat. But it'll be out there for people that want it. It's totally sweet. I paid money for it. Go add it to your channel.
Yes. Yeah, send it to Bassoon. He can throw it in the chat for you, Sonny. We should have gave you access to that. My week in Eternal, I was in Florida for the past 4 or 5 days for a family wedding, and so I was just basically doing my quest, getting my pack of the day, just messing around when I was waiting for things to happen. So that's what I was doing. It was a good time killer for me. So I'm just chilling the Masters. Whatever catches my eye, I'm playing. I dabbled in draft and then decided to go back to ranked. And yes, I am not a good draft player, Sonny. So anyway, but it's been a boring week. It's just kind of waiting for the new season to reset. I have a deck I want to try on the ladder, and but yeah, so it's been that. It's been good, but it's just kind of like waiting for the new season.
You know, if only there was some resources available to people that are looking to get better at draft.
I know everyone tells me about this person I should look up and learn about draft. So maybe I'll do that later. All right, let's go into our news. We had the ETS this past weekend. We have a top 8 that is I would say for the most part pretty diverse. There was some old decks. There were some older decks, I would say, and then there was just some FJS and then some reappearances. So what do you think about this top 8? I'm going to throw it up on the screen here so people can see. But what do you think about the top 8 this past weekend? Anything stick out to you?
I'll tell you what, though. I don't think Scrappy Hour is ever going to be like an oppressive deck or like the best deck in the format. But every once a season, it feels like Scrappy Hour just comes out of nowhere and wins a tournament. It's so funny to me.
Yeah, I was listening to, I forgot which podcast, so sorry about that, but I was listening on the drive down, but they were talking about how he just came in and kind of was wrecking everyone because no one was prepared for it. And there's only a few decks that it's weak against, and everything else is pretty good. And he never really faced those decks that he was weak against. So, congrats to him. But it's a fun deck. I've had it played against me, and I was like, what in the world is going on? I was like, Scrappy Hour. Okay.
I think that if you ignore the fact that Scrappy Hour won the tournament, which is probably not like a really... not something that you should be doing on a consistent basis, but like looking at the other decks, they all seem like the metagame decks that I expect to be good, like 2 Zalchi decks, 2 FJS decks, a Skycrag aggro, and a Lessie aggro, and a Scream deck. Like those are decks that I would say are big players in the metagame right now, or like big potential players as we head into the ECQ next weekend.
I think I think it was the nerfed FJS deck. I kind of like that because the two differences in it. Just real quick, this is what caught my eye. I know it's a typical FJS, but it was playing Mokto in the main, 4 of them, and also 4 Kola deck. And so I thought that was pretty interesting. And so I tried it out for the first time yesterday, and I'm like, yeah, it's different. You gotta think a little differently, but I think it's pretty good. Kola deck's a good card.
This guy Thufir has actually been playing like a playset of Mokto since before the FJS nerfs. It's just a good like repetitive thing. It seems redundant when you have Display of Ambition in your deck, but he's gotten results with this build of FJS, so it's something's going right. I'm not smart enough to know what.
Yeah. And he's played also 2 Daizo's Office main, so that's pretty cool. But yeah, there was also Alessi reappeared too. I saw that. I believe it was the Rock, the deck everyone forgot about, Dre. He was playing the Alessi combo deck, so that was kind of interesting to see that make a reappearance, because it seems like everyone forgot about Alessi, now it's back. Or at least that person brought it back. So, but I thought it was a good top 8. Any other things you want to say about it before we move on?
Well, I mean...
No, go ahead.
We could have predicted that Alessi was going to come back in some form with the Levitate buff.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the reason... that was most of the reason that the deck played Primal. And after the nerf, they went to Combray, and then that was good for a while, and everyone complained about it. And then VAR came out, and everyone forgot about it. So I'm really not surprised to see some sort of 3-faction Alessi deck back. I don't think that it's consistent or powerful enough to really be like the top of the food chain anymore, but I would expect to see it.
Yeah, with Vara existing and Safe Return being nerfed, I think it is good enough to be a fair and decent deck, but I don't think it's going to be the meta breaker that. But it is like a really skill testing deck, and it's like hard to play. I understand the appeal of it. I'm really bad at piloting it and have no interest in learning how to be better at it.
I don't think Safe Return was ever very good. I would be fine at that costing 1 again.
Not with 7 attack killer Alessi's.
No, it's fine. They had to really invest in that Alessi. It's fine.
They didn't though. That's the thing, Sunyveil. They didn't though. They just had to play spells they were already gonna play. That's not an investment.
That's a deck building investment. They had to play 5 spells, and one of them had to be a killer spell that targeted
Just putting good cards in your deck is not an investment. What are you talking about? They were playing cards. They were playing cards they were going to play with or without a Lessie.
That's not necessarily true. I don't think that those decks play like Find the Way or Seek Power if there's no Lessie to benefit from it.
Disagree. Hard disagree. You've got to hit 6 for your sword, right?
Yeah, you know what's better than Find the Way? Privilege of Rank.
Privilege of Rank.
Yeah.
In your aggro deck with no discard outlets?
I played for Privilege of Rank in my Tele deck with no discard outlets.
Where's all your where's all those tournaments you won with that deck, Sonny?
Hey, I top 64'd, was it I don't remember which tournament it was, but one of the ECQs, and then I got knocked out in the first round, and I was really bummed because I thought my deck was sick.
What? So I said, cool, where's the tournament that deck won? And you said, okay, but here's an example of me not winning a tournament with this deck.
The deck was good! I hit number 1 on ladder, too.
Oh, man.
Anyway, this was quite the tangent.
Well, okay, this is a good transition into... I have a question that I want to ask you guys. Okay. Every time... This is the last ETS. There will be an ECL this weekend on Saturday and Sunday that you can enter to prepare for the ECQ next weekend. But this is the last ETS before the next big ECQ, which we'll talk about in a second. But I want to ask you guys, every time we have a guest on right before an ECQ, and we'll have an episode before, we have another episode coming out before the next ECQ, but this is the one where people can really talk about what's coming up and really prepare for like a nice solid week and a half. But every time it comes out, I always ask the question, like, what's the best deck? The best players already have an idea of what the best deck is. I want to know, I want to take the question in a different direction for this conversation and ask you guys what you think, like, is the best deck for like a Joe Schmo, like normal ladder guy, your average ETS content consumer to play. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Don't give me a deck that you want Paradox to play in the ECQ. Give me a deck that like you want the masses, that you think the masses can play and succeed with in the ECQ.
I mean, I just don't have an answer for you because I haven't played ranked since I got top 100. I haven't played ranked since I think the last ECQ, and I got in my top 100 spot and have just been sitting there. So I actually don't have any idea. As soon as tomorrow hits and I don't have to worry about that nonsense anymore, you can bet that I'll be jamming games on ranked and then posting all of my findings in the Friends of Eternal Discord. But until then, I really don't have any advice that I think is, something that I can really get behind.
So yeah, I would say that just from play, I wouldn't say from an easy perspective, because I think every deck does have some technical play. You have to learn the matchups and everything else. But there'd be 2 decks that stand out to me. It'd be FJS, because it's just a bunch of good stuff thrown together. And, I mean, there's some technical play to it with, how to play around things and all that stuff. But you're playing some of the most powerful units in the game, and that just always helps. And then also, I think like a Skycrag aggro, because that's a little bit more simple, and if you get a strong curve, you are going to just take out your opponent, because it's just everyone's playing more of a mid-range, a little bit slower, but if you have a strong curve and you can just take them out, that's what my advice would be, one of those 2 decks. And depending on what you're seeing, what you like, what's your style, that's my advice. I'm not a tournament player. I dabble in it, but if I was going to, someone's asked me like, hey, give me 2 decks, I would give them an FJS deck and a Skycrag aggro and said, you play them and decide which one you want to play. That's what I would do.
I actually think that at this point, most of the time I would recommend Rakano aggro over Skycrag aggro. I think that the addition of Sharpshooter and the Smuggler are just gigantic for the deck and make it a better aggro deck. But
having another premium 2-drop is so big. It's so spooky.
Yeah, I think that. Yeah, I think it's just a better aggro deck now. I mean, I don't have a ton of experience with that one, but I know that I'm more scared of Rakano than Skycrag with most of the decks that I play.
Fair enough. I can see that too. And so, but yeah, Rakano's definitely strong. So I guess I could go.
The only reason I can think of to play Skycrag over Rakano is maybe Skycrag is like a little bit faster, like just on average, but also Skycrag loses less aggressively to Hailstorm, which is probably going to be coming back in the next week or two. I think we're going to see a lot more Hailstorms in the ECQ than we saw in the previous one.
Oh, so I actually rescind my previous answer of having no idea of what advice to give. You should play my Zenon deck.
Oh man!
All right, we'll get there.
We'll get there. All right, let's
just drop Parasaurs. You can't lose.
All right, let's move on. Let's move on to the ECQ that is coming up. Yes, there is an ECQ qualifier, the Price of Freedom. This will take place February 8th through the 10th. This one's pretty cool because it costs 30,000 gold to enter, but you're guaranteed 30 packs. So, if you have the gold, go for it. Try it out. And so I think that's kind of cool. Anything you want to say about this? I'm just giving an announcement that's coming up, so it's pretty cool.
Oh yeah, look for me in top 64. I'm gonna grind real hard.
There's no darkest hour to stop me, so good.
Oh man!
What happens if you win one? Are you not allowed to enter the next ones?
Oh, I actually don't know that for sure, but I imagine that there's some guard against that. So I don't know for sure, but like if I qualified for one, I'm not playing another one.
That's fair. I don't know.
Yeah.
Having extra $2,000 sounds pretty good.
Yeah, not too bad. That'd be nice. So, all right,
what's better than $2,000 is $2 more $1,000.
So, all right, moving on real quick. This is for the lore people. If you go on Reddit, there is someone made a map of Ameria, which is the land of Eternal. So, go check that out. Just kind of gives you an idea of like where everything's situated. I thought it was really cool. Well done. So, anything you guys want to say about that before we move on? I just thought it was cool.
Neat.
Yeah.
This reminds me of the Redwall series. I don't know if you guys read it when you were young, but they always had a map that looked exactly like this, except it wasn't colored at the beginning of the books. And I would always study those for a long time. I'm a sucker for these types of things. So I'm a big fan.
Yeah, I always like looking at these, like, when like fan art comes out of maps, and I'm like, oh, this is pretty cool. This is like the most recent one, so I thought I'd show it. But yeah, go on Reddit, go into the Eternal page, and check this out. It's pretty cool. All right, now what we want to talk about. The community store is arriving. It's finally getting here after how many months, days, years? What's going on?
They announced it in August, right? So
yes.
That would be 5 months?
5 months ago, yes. What do you think about this? Do you want me to go over a couple of the what's going on with this, or Bassoon, do you want to go over it? Or Sonny, you can go over it too. But
let me just hit some highlights here.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so you can buy cosmetics and pack packages as your standard consumer of Twitch content, right? With your influence. Streamers can buy drop packages, which is something Sonny has actually mentioned wanting in the past. I will not speculate as to whether or not he had inside knowledge when he proposed that.
That wasn't inside knowledge. They had said they had talked about that.
Oh, had they? Okay. I thought it was just the thing that you thought of that would be cool. I did not know that had already been public knowledge. So streamers with the extra influence they get from streaming, because they get like influence based on how many people are watching their streams, right? Will be able to buy drops packages. So presumably we will be putting that money, or that influence, that fake money that we have accrued, back into the Eternal community, which is fine, which is cool. Mm-hmm. And then for the real cool guy streamers with lots of influence, they are with the real influence for the real cool guy streamers, with the people with a ton of influence. We still don't have prices on this yet, but there will be there are are purchase packages where you can buy a custom card back to be put into the community store and a custom actual playable Eternal card that you will collaborate with the Eternal devs in creating and releasing back into the ecosystem.
We all know that is what you're going for. That is your goal of Eternal now, to get Scout either a card back or design a card. For those who don't know, Scout is his dog. We've been trying to get in Eternal. If you follow Bassoon, you know it. So
yeah, if you follow me on Twitter or my stream, you know that I've been on a social media crusade to get my dog put into Eternal.
Yes,
and,
yes. Someone just said in chat that they'll be disappointed if there's no like merchandise available, either like some things you can buy or something like that, or I don't know if you can like get enough influence and like get a shirt from like for Eternal or something. I think that'd be kind of cool though, like a physical eventually down the road. I don't know, and so anyway, that's going on. But also, like I said, this is a collaboration, and we'll work together. You're not going to run wild and make some obviously OP nonsense that we would never ship. And they have. You click on it, it's Sandstorm Titan. So
I really thought that hyperlink was going to link to, like any number of Ilya K Reddit posts.
Oh man! I thought it was funny. So what do you think about this? I think this is cool. It's finally happening. I think some of the checks and boundaries. I know they said this is all subject to change. So just putting that out there, that this is a work in progress. But I kind of like this. It gives incentive to watch, but also to interact, and for streamers as well. And then also, I think the checks and boundaries for like abuse prevention. I think from what I read, I think they're going the right way with that to make sure that people are just not like doing 24/7 streams. So,
sorry, I just had to mute myself to sneeze. I hope that that didn't get picked up on the camera.
No, you're good.
Okay. Zeroshio in chat asked if there's a date for the release. That is next week.
Yes.
Okay, that is all we know is next week. Mm-hmm. Here's my two big thoughts. I think it's a really cool and elegant way to improve upon the drop system. And it's a cool thing. Like, you know, it's going to be a giant meme in my stream that, like, as I accrue influence points or whatever, and click on blue orbs for people to meme at me about, oh yeah, your dog's finally going to be in the game. Mm-hmm. The thing I'm a little so I have two big thoughts about this. The thing I'm a little reticent about is so number one is this so there. How you doing, Sonny? You back?
Yeah.
You feeling okay, buddy?
I think so.
All right, cool. Okay, so I have two big thoughts about the influence store. So like 2 months ago, they nerfed ranked rewards by like 10%, right? Like the gold rewards, and they said it was to balance the influence store, right? So, but we've just been sitting on these like nerfed ranked rewards for 2 months, and then when the influence store gets released, then there's an announcement that the influence that we have accrued over these like 6 months or whatever since the announcement is also being like adjusted down for the balance of the store, which is like not that big a deal, but it's like a little bit of a feels bad to have like ranked rewards nerfed with nothing for the 2 months while during, like, you know what I mean? It's like we're playing like in two different economies. So I haven't seen numbers yet, but I'm initially apprehensive about that two card combo there. And my other big thought about it is I really dislike that the two sides of this argument, because obviously there has been an argument about these things on Reddit, right? And I really dislike that the two sides of the coin are Direwolf Digital sycophant corporate bootlicker versus like virgin Reddit crybabies. And those are like the only two sides of the argument. And I just want there to be like nuanced critique of the way that this has happened, and people who can justifiably feel bad but optimistic. I don't even feel bad. I feel like a little apprehensive about those two things, you know? But I feel like I can't voice that without being part of like the Reddit crybaby mob. That's where I stand.
Yeah, I mean, in all honesty, I'm usually behind most of the things that Direwolf does, but I'm not thrilled about how this was handled. I mean, I felt like when they nerfed gold rewards, that was fine. They just should have, made the justification the community store and not something about Russia, right?
Yeah.
Has that been forgotten by now?
There's been so many more memeable things that I think Russia has fallen by the wayside.
Oh my goodness. So there was that, and also like I actually don't watch a ton of streams. I don't like having streams on in the background. I just can't stand the noise or just having a tab that is anyway. So having not watched a ton of streams, I don't get a ton of Twitch drops, and I was relying on the fact that I stream a lot to be, getting my influence, and hearing that, that is
it's like nuked a little bit.
Yeah. I don't know what is going to be a little bit or a lot or whatever. What is like, however.
Yeah, we're working in abstractions right now.
Yeah,
like we don't even have numbers.
Yeah, we have no idea, but that doesn't feel great. I don't know.
So,
I don't see why. I mean, they probably changed their system at some point, but I don't see how it can why it wouldn't be able to be retroactively upgraded as opposed to be everything just being squashed.
Yeah. Oh, here's the best explanation I found. The funniest theory that I found on Reddit was they priced everything in the influence store and realized Jonah already had enough influence to create his custom card, and they had to deflate some of the numbers. And I think if that's what it was, that's really, really funny. And I'm not even mad.
Jonah's going to be able to create his custom card before just about anyone else except for maybe Yottabyte, right? So that's just what's going to happen. That's the reality that Direwolf has to live with. There's no avoiding it.
Yes. Oh man, I'm excited. I feel like the day that I have enough influence to create my custom scout card is gonna be the day that I beat the Twitch's final boss, right? I care about the custom card more than I care about getting partnered, more than I care about making making money back on this or whatever. I just that's all post game dungeon, and making the scout card is the final boss of twitch.tv/Bassoon Buffoon.
You'll be hanging up your mic and headphones after that. Be like, I'm done, guys. My Twitch streaming career is complete.
Yeah, I'm just gonna get my headset bronzed and just hang it up on a wall. This is everything after this is New Game Plus. Yes,
that'd be hilarious. Oh man. But yeah, I'm excited for it. I'm interested to see, like you said, everything that's going to take place. I know there's going to be changes, but it's happening finally. So we'll just kind of roll with it, and just you're getting free stuff if you participate. So that's not bad. It's not bad. So anyway, all right, shall we move on to you, Sonny, and talk about you, or you can talk about yourself. How about that? Yeah. So all right, go on. Let's. Tell us about yourself. We're all ears now. We want to know more about you, your life, your card game history, and other things. Go for it.
As somebody who is no stranger to first dates recently, I want you to treat this like a first date.
Well, I mean, my first date strategy is here's a video of me rock climbing, and here's a video of me playing music. And usually that's probably my best strategy.
Wait, you hit him with the video of you playing music on the first date?
Wait, you rock climb? First of all, you rock climb?
Yeah.
Nice. So do I. So anyway, go ahead.
There's videos of me on Twitter, and when we did the Sunyveil dating profile construction, we watched some videos of me doing both of those things.
Oh, wow.
That is forever saved on the Twitch archives, so if you want to check it out, you can.
You know what I'm doing that later today. Anyway.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think those are the two most impressive things that I can do. No one wants to hear about card games. But as far as and I teach music as a day job. I was about to say in my spare time, but then realized that that's actually how I earn a living.
Sonny, this is your spare time.
Yes.
Sonny, we're in your spare time.
So as far as my card game history or just gaming history goes, I started playing the Pokemon TCG, which was made by Wizards of the Coast, the same company that makes Magic, back when it started. And I bought the Fire deck with Ninetales and Lass, and I think it had Magmars too. And I was like something about Magmar. I found really interesting because it was one of the few Pokemon that could kill itself in one shot. I don't know. that was interesting to me. Anyway, so I played that. I actually did play the game with friends, never competitively or anything. But I didn't just collect cards. I played the game, and then in 5th grade, a friend introduced me to the 7th edition of 7th edition of Other Card Game, yes. Also known as Magic: The Gathering. And I don't know, I just really liked it. The attacking and blocking was cool, the fantasy aspect was cool, casting spells, I'm into all that stuff. So that was around Apocalypse, and I played for a few years, just, again, never seriously, just at middle school and whatnot. I took a break from card games for a while, and at some point I played a card game called Alltale, and not many people have played or heard of this game, but that was a really well-designed card game, in my opinion.
Okay, so my only experience with Alltale is until this exact moment, I thought Ilya K was literally the only person in the history of the world who had ever played this card game, because he constantly talks about it. I did not know another human being had ever played this game. What is it?
Gosh, it's very different from your card games like Pokemon or Magic or Eternal or Hearthstone. So I believe you have 25 cards in your file, which is a deck, but you have access to all of them at all the time. And what would happen is you build up SP, which you can then use to build influence and then play cards. And it
sounds a little bit like Prismata.
I've never played Prismata.
Oh, okay, that's kind of what Prismata is like. StarCraft meets a card game.
Maybe, I don't know. But well, I mean, it does have kind of RTS elements or just like tactical elements, because there's a board of a 3x3 grid on each side, and you can place your cards there, the ones that represent units anyway, in those spots, and based on the turn would go something like this: both players reveal their card, or one of them randomly activates first, and then they get placed on the board, and then the cards on the board make actions or something. So based on their attack, health, and range, they would do battle. It was a really interesting game. Whenever I lost a game playing Alltale, I always could think back and be like, if I had done this differently, maybe I would have won. It didn't come down to just random. I mean, you had the entire deck in your hand at all times. So it didn't come down to random draws. There were other random aspects of it, like your cards behaved in ways, like if there were 2 cards within range of one of yours on the grid, then it would attack randomly. So which card happened first when you were playing them would be determined randomly, I believe. But it was that was a really interesting game, and I loved it. And I'm sad that it's gone, as far as I can tell. Or, I mean, it was always gone because there was never enough of a player base to support it, but it was, I thought it was really cool. Anyway.
Okay.
Anyway, so in 2010 or 11, I went back to Magic. This was, let's see, it was right after Zendikar Block, so I think Scars of Mirrodin had just been released.
Mm-hmm. I think so.
Yeah, I don't know, I just loved red decks. I started playing a red deck. I won SCG Open, and then went on to top 8 3 more, and is that right? 4?
Only you can know.
Yeah, so I've in the subsequent years, I top 8'd 4 SCGs. I wrote for Star City Games regularly for a time, although, I mean, I was also in school, so that was difficult to balance. and I qualified for the Pro Tour, and I'm going to be going to my second Pro Tour next month.
Very nice.
Rad.
That is really cool. That's really cool. Now, when did you start playing Eternal? Like, how did you get into that? Because we it's always interesting. Some people said, "Oh, I was playing Hearthstone." Then I saw this game was kind of like Magic. What was your draw to the game?
Well, I knew of LSB because he is a gigantic content creator when it comes to Magic. Like, I would watch his draft videos, and then one time on stream, he just said, check out this game that we were making, and he just had a pre-constructed deck to play against Pete Chapin, and I don't think this was even out to the public at all. It was just like everyone's first look at Eternal, and they just played, and I was like, this game looks amazing. So I signed up for the closed beta, waited a month or two or whatever, got my invite, and I played against the AI for months before ever playing ranked or whatnot. I remember having, I remember complaining about Sandstorm Titan. I guess I didn't actually complain publicly, but like I remember thinking, what the heck, that costs 4 and it's a 5/6 and it prevents you from flying over it. Like, this card is totally OP. But then I learned that this game doesn't work the same way as Magic, and then learned to embrace it.
Nice. Now, when did you start streaming? Like, so you got in the closed beta. How long did it take for you to start streaming?
I think as soon as the NDA lifted, I started streaming because I had already streamed some Magic before that. I played a lot of Legacy in Magic, and that has like a small, tight-knit community. So being someone that had the cards on Magic Online, I streamed it some. So as soon as the NDA was lifted, I started streaming Eternal some. But I was never on a regular schedule or something, or maybe it was like once a week or twice a week or something like that. So it wasn't really consistent. And then I took a break from Eternal for a while. At least, like, I would still log in to get my win of the day and whatnot, but I was focusing on Magic because I was traveling to GPs like every few weeks and spending a lot of my free time on that, missing Eternal the entire time, of course. But when I was done with that, I said I was okay. So when I qualified for the PT, this was 2017, like in June of 2017. I was like, okay, I'm going to go to GPs for a year and see if I enjoy what people do when they're pro Magic players or whatever. And that took up a lot of time and a lot of money, and it wasn't particularly enjoyable. So when I was done with that, when a year had been up, I was like, okay, fantastic. I'm going to go back to playing Eternal and streaming.
What was not enjoyable? Was it the game or the people or?
Well, the game has some issues. Okay, you don't know the tournament grind of Magic until you've flown across the country only to get mana screwed twice in the first round that you play.
Ooh, that's no.
So
see, Eternal lets you get mana screwed from the comfort of your own desk.
And then you're like, okay, for the rest of the day, I'm going to watch anime in my PJs or whatever.
I did spend $4,000 to get here,
or 600, but yeah. So there was that aspect. I mean, I just think that Eternal is more fun than Magic in a lot of regards. I don't know. You're just not waiting around in convention halls with like waiting for the timer to tick down. You don't have to worry about bringing all your gear with you and shuffling and all this stuff. I don't know, and keeping track of life totals manually, and then dealing with people that might be cheating or like people.
That sounds particularly anxiety inducing. Is that having to like pay really special close attention to what your opponent is doing at all times because they might try and like actually cheat is like pretty wild. Also, when I've been to one Pauper tournament, just like a local card game shop Pauper tournament with a borrowed deck, and shuffling gave me a lot of anxiety because it took so long and I was like pretty slow at it, and you have to shuffle all the time, like between every time you do something, like there's hidden card text that says now shuffle your deck.
Yep.
and it just takes forever, and I felt so anxious, and it made my chest so tight. Just this guy staring at me, fumbling around, shoveling. That I never wanted to do it again.
Yeah, so, I mean, I'm excited to go to the Pro Tour, but I'm not really excited to play in any Magic tournaments that aren't the Pro Tour.
Have you practiced shuffling?
Have I practiced? I've shuffled so much in my lifetime.
Somewhat of a tangent to make this about me, because that's what I do.
Yeah.
There was like a 12-year-old kid who like saw me struggling in between rounds at this tournament, like pulled me aside and was like, "Do you want me to teach you how to shuffle?" And he was such a good kid, and he was like really nice, and he really wanted me to like stay afterwards and play Commander with him. And I still couldn't shuffle after our one-on-one lesson. I still couldn't shuffle good. Anyways, that's the whole thing.
Oh man. So Sonny, you went into you're kind of known as the draft guru. So what's up with that? What made you give us like a couple minutes of drafting advice and how you got into that and why you like that?
So I've played a lot of, as if you couldn't tell already by my introduction, I've played a lot of card games in my lifetime, and I feel like the skill in Constructed is based upon how much preparation you've done for that format, whereas skill in limited formats such as drafting is based on how much you've done that in your lifetime for the most part. Yeah, there's some preparation you need for individual formats, but I think most of the skills that you have in draft or sealed or whatnot are ones that you develop over time and are applicable to the next format, whereas that I feel like if you're dropped in the middle of a new constructed format, you're kind of lost, if that makes sense. So I don't think that I have as much time to play, or I just don't play the game as much as some people do. So I feel like my skills are more applicable to drafting, because I've played so many card games in my lifetime.
Cool. So so you got into anything? Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
If you're looking for draft advice, I think the biggest thing that is different from draft and constructed is that when you're drafting, not every card is good, if that makes sense. Like, when you're playing constructed, every card in your deck is hopefully good, or you need to come up with a different deck, or you better have something really busted going on in it. But when you're drafting, that's just not the case. You have some cards that matter a lot, you have some cards that just don't matter very much, and it's really important to figure out what is the actual thing that matters at the point in time. Like, if you have a card that says, give -2/-2 to something, and your opponent has a 2/2, yeah, sure, you can kill it. But you might need that effect to have your 1/3 flyer take down a 3/3 flyer later in the game, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. And knowing when how to spend your resources is a very important skill in draft. And I think it's really interesting and creates a lot of decision points. This is a bit of a tangent, but I was playing against Josh Arder-Layton, Raptor. I don't know if you guys know him, but he's a Hall of Fame Magic player, absolute sicko at the game. And I was playing. I think it was sealed. I don't think it was draft, but it was a game of limited, and he had. It was a very similar situation. He had a card that was a fast -2/-2 in his hand. He attacked with a 4/5. I blocked with like a 3/3 and a 2/2 or whatever. He could have used the -2/-2 to blow out the to blow out the double block and just kill my 3/3 for free and keep his 4/5 alive. But somewhere later in the game, he needed to shrink one of my flyers. Like, he needed to shrink a 3/3 flyer so that would get stopped by his 2/2 flyer, and like that happened on the next turn, I guess, or something like that. Because I figured that since I had made that block and he hadn't blown it out with the removal spell, I was free to make this attack into his my 3/3 into his 2/2, and I got I lost it, and then that ended up losing me the game.
So it's always thinking a couple steps ahead too of like what could happen, what your opponent could have, or even because your removal is limited in draft, so kind of like save that for the situations you precisely need it. And
Yeah.
Okay.
So he was able to make a very high value play and chose not to because he made the play that actually mattered.
Gotcha. That won the game. Cool.
Yeah.
All right, let's move into, you got picked up by a team. You want to talk about your this like gigantic team, Eternal Titans, I believe it's called. Tell us about that.
Well, Eternal Titans is a very small team. I don't know what you mean about gigantic team.
Small in numbers, large in our hearts.
Yeah,
no
kidding.
Titans are large. Okay. Anyway, all right.
So I was invited to Eternal Titans by Finkel. I think this must have been about 2 years ago. It was before I stopped playing Eternal and then started again. But anyway, it was only a few people then. I think that the people that were already on it were Jaffa, Ahorn, Finkel. Jeez, who else was there? I think Visarius was a part of it then. Moosh, and I don't know who else. Gosh, I'm probably missing someone and going to be really embarrassed about that. But it was just a bunch of people that had been playing for the since the closed beta. I mean, I knew Finkel and Moosh pretty well because they kept on kicking my butt in draft. So I was like kind of indifferent to joining a team, but boy, I learned a lot from Eternal Titans. I mean, we ended up picking up Manu and Kamado and Toba and all these great players, and I learned a lot from them, watching them play and hearing them talk about tech advice. So I think one of the most interesting things that I learned is that these people that you think are really good at the game, like if you say someone like Kamado or Moosh, you would say they're right about 95% of the time, right? They're almost always right. Well, it turns out they're only right about 75% of the time, or maybe 80% of the time. And it takes a big heated argument from other people that really know what they're talking about in order to bring out that, wow, they are actually wrong some of the time, and it's more often than you might realize. So I think that when you have a really good player and there's no one around to challenge their opinion, that player might be helping other people, but they're not getting better themselves. And I think one of the key things about Eternal Titans is that we had so many really good players, and everyone's opinion was constantly being challenged. That really helped us all get a little better. So we disagreed all the time on stuff. You'd think that, if we're all right 95% of the time, that we would agree most of the time on things. That was not the case.
It's also kind of revealing that there's very few objective truths in a card game.
Oh yeah, definitely. That was a really, eye-opening and learning experience for me, and it was amazing for my play skill. I mean, I had, I don't think I had any, I was a reasonable player, but I wasn't winning anything before I joined Eternal Titans, and I started doing really well. I don't think that's a mistake.
Rad.
Cool. And so now you've kind of moved on, and you've started something else that is just kind of very new, very fresh. Tell us about this Friends of Eternal. Go ahead.
So Friends of Eternal has been a project that's been in my head since around late October, early November last year, and I was actually talking to Grimfan about this for a while, about how Eternal Titans, and I'm sure the other big teams out there, you have to be really secretive about your deck choices. You don't want other people getting a hold of the tech that you're developing and whatnot, stuff like that. And if you're someone that streams very frequently, and that's most of your experience with the game, such as myself, then it's difficult to prepare for events in a way, and also feel like you're giving the best experience to your viewers, if that makes sense. So I didn't like being secretive about my decks, and I felt like I would want to be able to play them on stream, while I was working on for these tournaments, but I wasn't able to because that was just part of the team agreement. As time goes on, people's motivations change, and my motivation changed from being someone that would win tournaments to someone that could provide valuable content. That's my main goal right now.
Yeah.
So I wanted to make a community team that was all about that, where I could really just put all of my best advice and help people out as much as possible. And I think it's great that other people have latched onto this idea. So it's not just all, it's not just me helping a bunch of people. Other people, get in on it and help each other. And honestly, I'm blown away by the positive response we've had to Friends of Eternal. Like, I never expected it to be as big as it is right now. I don't know how many members. I can check. One of the things about this is it's a team that's based on community. It's open to anyone that wants to join. If you want to be a part of it, we're happy to have you, and you can benefit from us and benefit from, I don't know, the discussion we're having, I guess. And also, if you want to, you can help other people out, and a lot of people have been helping others out, and that's been great. I don't even know. This is probably about 60 people have signed up for Friends of Eternal. That being said, there's no commitment, required commitment for this. The people can come and go as they want. They can go to other teams, whatever. I'm going to have to have a monthly check-in to just keep the roster updated.
That's really cool that you have it kind of like an open roster in the sense where people can come in and learn about the game, tournament decks, everything else. I think that's really cool that you're inviting people to get invested in the community. So I think that's really key and really cool. So I appreciate you doing it.
Yeah, I'm excited. Next steps are hopefully we will. Well, I need a logo for Friends of Eternal, but once we have that, there's going to be hoodies available.
Ooh.
I already talked to some people about that. Hopefully, we're going to have a team tournament, maybe once a month, just an in-house tournament. And someone talked about getting a website up, but that's a lot of work. We'll see where that goes.
It's a lot of work for very little return on that work, in my opinion.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens with that. That would be cool, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure how far that's going to go.
Cool. All right, let's move on to the deck of the week. All right, so let's run through this real quick. We have, let me bring it up here. Go ahead and tell us about this deck. This is a Zenon deck that you have created.
Yeah, so this actually started off as a Praxis deck that had fire only for Heart of the Vault and Zuberi. It was the Torchless Torch deck that I think that Grimfan played to a 5-2 finish at an ETS. I handed him the deck list, and he was like, "Really? A fire deck without Torch?" I was like, "You don't need Torch, trust me." So it was kind of this is a different take on that. The heart of that deck was not Heart of the Vault. It was Thundering Karasaur, which is, I think, a card that's really good right now. It's just a matter of having a deck that can play it because you have to be so heavily timed. It just brawls really well with, there's not much harsh rule in the format. It brawls really well against Heart of the Vaults and Sandstorm Titans and other things people are doing. The Overwhelm's good against sites. The drawing a card whenever someone plays a spell is great against sites. Yeah, I just think it's really well suited for the metagame right now. So you need to figure out a supporting cast for it. And I decided that maybe I should try Zenon Killers for it. You get the Dark Return to go along with the Zenon Initiations, which were in the Praxis version. Vara goes well, I guess, kind of with this deck. I don't know. I put the Banishes in there instead of... Shoot, I had Ion in here originally because Ion can help you buy something back for Dawnwalker, but Ion was really underwhelming.
Cool.
And then just a bunch of big time cards.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Hey, Sonny, run through the list real quick for our podcast listeners. You don't have to give the numbers; just give the cards that are in it. Just real quick, so they know what exactly we're talking about.
Yeah, so you've got your Accelerants in Initiative Sands, Trailmaker, and Aurelian Merchants, and then you've got Dawnwalkers, and you've got your fatties, Sandstorm Titan, Vara, Owlhead, Moonstone Vanguard, Worldbearer Behemoth, and Thundering Karasaur. I mean, most of the time, what you're trying to do is you're trying to get a Worldbearer Behemoth or Thundering Karasaur out way faster than you should be able to, and then hopefully ride that to victory. And if they deal with that, well, you just play another one. People only run so many Annihilates and Vanquishes these days, as it turns out. This deck's really bad against FJS. I was thinking about playing the Praxis version for the ECQ, but FJS was everywhere, so I converted.
Is this deck better against FJS?
No, it's terrible. Oh, this version?
Yeah.
That's a good question. I would think that it's worse, actually.
I'm dubious about bringing anything to an ECQ that can't beat FJS. Is my firm and hard stance on playing decks in the ECQ.
Well, that's fair. If
you can't even at least split with FJS, I would say you've got to put that deck away.
Yeah, well, I was crushing everything that wasn't FJS, but I just kept on losing to FJS, and that's why I didn't play it. If it weren't for FJS, I would have played this deck.
If only it weren't for the best and most popular deck in the format.
Yeah, that's why I played the FJS deck that I played.
Oh man. I mean, this deck looks fun as long as you don't run into FJS, and
exactly,
it looks pretty good. I like the Ascendel in the market. That is, I think if you're playing Zenon, you got to have at least one in the market. I think it's a no-brainer. Infinite Hourglass. How often has that come out? The one that gives all your units endurance.
You know what the greatest feeling is? You're playing against Skycrag. They're beating you down with a Champion of Fury or like 4 Champion of Furies because they're Skycrag and they always draw them. You play your Vara, they permafrost it. Then you play your Merchant, and you play the Hourglass, and you attack with Vara on the turn, and you gain 5 life. It is a great feeling. So, yeah. It's one of the ways that people try to deal with your fatties is they play permafrost, and this is a way to just not have it.
The fools.
Yeah.
You're playing against Sunyveil. You know he's gonna have anyway. But yeah. So this is a cool deck. I'll give it a try later today. I don't have all the cards, as you can see. I still need 2 Mount Breakers and 1 Thundering Karasaur, just because I do like time. I do like Zenon, but I just always like, every time I make a Zenon deck, I always fall short just a little bit. That's because it's FJS, obviously. But it just always seems like that's the bane of this deck's existence, is all of that. But any other words on this before we go into our sign-off shout-outs and where to find us?
I think this deck is good. I'm going to try it for... I'm going to work on this and see if I can improve it for the ECQ, and I think this is like the front runner of decks that I actually want to play, because I don't want to play the same thing that everyone else is playing if I can avoid it. But yeah, I'm honestly surprised that a deck like this with Karasaur has not caught on, because Karasaur is just so absurdly powerful right now.
With all the spells, yeah, for sure. So it's a good card. Every time I see it, I'm just like, I just kind of like, not die a little inside, just like, this is not fun. And everything, but yeah. All right, let's go on. Sunyveil, where can they find you? Your Twitch, your Discord, and do you have any shout-outs?
Yeah, twitch.com/Sunyveil. Sorry, twitter.com/Sunyveil, twitch.tv/Sunyveil. I'm Sunyveil on every platform. If you see Sunyveil in game, that's probably me. You should also check out Friends of Eternal if you're looking for a team to join that doesn't require recruitment, I guess. We're open to everyone. If you want to come hang out with us, we're happy to have you. Compete under our banner, buy our hoodies when they come out. We're happy to have you. You can find that information, well, I can post a link to it places, but yeah, it's we are run through a Discord channel, so just show up and enjoy.
What a salesman.
Awesome. Bassoon, how about you?
I am on Twitter at HumanVenipede. It's the best tag on the website. Don't at me.
Nope, it is not.
It is absolutely the funniest and best Twitter handle in the history of the website.
Wait, I'm actually really curious. Isn't Venipede a magic card?
It's a Pokemon.
Oh.
It's like Human Centipede, but a Pokemon.
Sonny's looking this up right now. He's like, hang on there.
What is... Okay, there's a magic card that is... I know what it has. Undying, and it has Trample and Vigilance, and it's a 5/4 and it costs 5.
I don't know what any of those words mean.
Something like that. Okay, anyway.
What is Undying in Magic? I don't even know.
It comes back. Trample.
It comes back with a +1/+1 counter. Yeah, it has Endurance and Overwhelm.
Yes. Anyway.
Oh my god. All right. Anyways.
We got sidetracked there. Okay, go ahead.
Follow me on Twitch at twitch.tv/BassoonBuffoon. Our holy quest to get Scout in Eternal now has a goal line in sight. I'm assuming sometime next week we'll be able to put a numerical value on putting Scout and Eternal, so that's fun. Thanks to Sunyveil for being on. Thanks to Nav for doing all the computer stuff I don't want to be doing. And we will be skipping the gameplay portion of the show today because it went a little long in the tooth. I just wanted to put that out there for the podcast/YouTube listeners.
Cool. And so, all right, for me, you can find me on Twitter at WhatTheDeckHS. Remember, you can follow the podcast at From the Voidcast on Twitter. We also have a sister cast. They're a Hearthstone podcast. You can find them at HeroPower_cast. Remember, we have a website, FromTheVoidPodcast.com, where all the episodes, YouTube videos are posted there. Plus, a link to our Discord, where we talk about Eternal and other miscellaneous life things. And I believe that is it. So thank you all for watching. We'll see you next week from the Void. Later, everyone.